My name is Brian Hudspeth, and given that I am a student of counseling and I'm not a licensed therapist, the following simulation is used solely for the purpose of academic practice and training, and all parties involved understand that this exercise is for education purposes only. Hi, Charlene, welcome back.
Hi.
Well, how are you feeling today?
I'm all right. Still maybe just a little bit tired, but
Okay,
all
all right. What I want us to do today, I'm going to talk to you here in a minute. We're going to kind of talk a little bit about last week, talk a little bit about how your homework assignment went, and then we're going to look specifically at one area that we're going to hone in on so that we can really begin to get down to the stuff that we need to. Does that sound okay?
right.
All right, well, let's start there. Tell me, just overall, looking since we met last week, how has this past week gone for you?
Oh, I mean, oh, oh, okay. It's kind of the same, maybe a little different,
Okay.
because I did my homework.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, let's go there. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, the first thing we were going to have you do was you were going to talk with Nora,
right.
and then you were going to see if she would go to the movie with you. How did
Right.
that go? Did you do that?
Yes. I called her.
Okay.
I had written down how I felt before I called her, and I was a little tired, and I was like, oh, it's just a chore. But I went ahead and called her, and it was okay. It was, we made. I hadn't talked to her for a long time, so I kind of was worried about that, but it went all right.
Okay. So before you made the call, you were kind of nervous and kind of
Mm-hmm.
feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm tired. Don't know if I want to do this.
Right.
And then you called her, and obviously, since y'all went, she said yes, that she
Mm-hmm.
would go. Tell me something. When you hung up the phone, y'all had made the date, you'd made the arrangements to go. How did you feel then, as opposed to right before you called when you were feeling kind of tired and, gee, I don't know if I want to do this?
Oh, well, I felt better. I kind of felt relieved.
Okay, all right. Um, if you could pick a word, you said I feel better. If you could pick a word, what would that word be?
Oh, I guess maybe hopeful.
Hopeful.
So,
Okay, all right, that's a good word. All right, and then we were also going to have you do some writing during the week where you were going to think about how I felt at the time, like if you felt tired or if you felt good, and then you were going to follow that up with how did that make your behavior? How did that help shape your behavior? Did you do any of that this week, the journaling?
yes.
Okay. Overall, can you give me some examples of some writings that you did, like I thought this and it made me feel this way?
Um, yeah, I guess I might sometimes feel like I don't always fit in with other people. Sometimes, like at work, whatever, even trying to make some small talk, so I feel like I'm not funny enough or witty enough, and so it just seems tiring to try to, even try to work up courage to be part of a conversation. So I kind of listen, but I stay out of it. Does that make any sense?
Sure, sure. And so when you would have a thought like, I'm not witty enough or I'm not smart enough, what would the resulting feeling, the behavior be?
um, that I'm just tired, and I don't even want to try. And
Okay. Okay, and let's talk about that second one for just a second. Um, we had the one experience of I'm tired, I don't know if I want to do this, but you picked up the phone because it was one of the assignments, and you called Nora and she said, yeah, sure, let's go. And then you said you felt a little bit better and a little hopeful. But during the week, let me make sure, I just want to make sure I'm understanding you. You're saying during the week, you would also have some of those thoughts about, oh, I'm not witty enough, or I'm not, is it smart was the word you used, not smart enough. And so then the resulting feeling from that would be, gee, I don't know if I want to be going out. Is that correct? Want to go
yeah,
out and okay, all right. And there is a word that we use or a little phrase that we use for that that we refer to as automatic thoughts. And we all do them, but the more aware we can be of them, a lot of times we can help shape our and change our behavior. And that is, if we're thinking, I'm not good enough at this, or I can't do this, then the resulting behavior is we may try to avoid that. And so, you've done some of that from what you're describing, but you've also had that experience of going against that feeling and going ahead and reaching out, and you're telling me it worked out well. I want us to kind of, in looking at kind of prioritizing what we're going to do today, let's go with a couple of those things that you just said right now. You said that sometimes you feel like I'm not smart enough, or I'm not witty enough. Was that one of them?
Yeah.
Which of those two things would you say is the one that has been on your mind the most?
Probably not being funny enough or entertaining enough or
Okay.
witty.
All right. Tell me when you feel that feeling. Number one, where would it be when you feel that?
When other people are around and they're like in conversation and I just feel like I can't contribute.
Okay. All right. And so the resulting deal is that you attempt to contribute and feel like it doesn't go well, or you just don't contribute?
I don't. I think of something, but then I think, oh, it's not going to go over very well, and then, I'm going to be looked down on. And
Okay. Have there been many failed attempts at that in the past, or is it more a thought you have that results in avoiding that?
well, I think it probably has happened a few times. I mean, when you're younger, and then I just don't want to go through that again when I'm older.
Okay, and so because of past things, it's easier just to say, gee, I want to avoid
Right.
that. Okay, all right. But because it's affecting you now, because it's causing some of those tired feelings, which we identified last week after your testing, it's caused some depression. Would you say that's something that you want to work on?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Let's do this. Let's talk about that one first. The one about I don't feel witty enough, um, and let's talk about having you go out a second time. Call Nora back. You have a coworker, anybody that you get along with at work pretty well.
Yes.
Let's have you invite a third person or a second person. You, Nora, and this third person, the coworker, and I want y'all to go out. You'll actually be in a group type situation there. And I want for you to, again, think about what's the feeling before you do that. And then after y'all go, and you kind of summarize at the end of that how you felt afterwards. Let's have you do that. And that will be an opportunity for you to get a little bit of practice in. Now, the second problem that you talked about, you said sometimes you don't feel smart enough.
Right.
Okay. Tell me when you feel that.
Oh, when people maybe talking about politics or topics of the day, and I may not have watched the news the night before, and I just don't have anything to say about it. I haven't really studied it, I guess, very well, and so I feel out of the conversation.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. You're saying that sometimes you may be around people, they're talking about politics or something in the news, but yet your automatic thought is, I'm not smart enough.
Mm-hmm.
When really it may be, you just didn't watch the news that day.
No.
So you see how sometimes those thoughts, even though they may not be completely representative of what happened, they still result in us feeling bad about ourselves, or feeling like we don't fit in, we can't be part of. So again, I want for you to think about some things here. Now, you're a school teacher, correct?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which means you have a college degree.
Yes.
All right. How did you do in college?
Well, I did pretty well. I mean,
To even get into college, not an easy thing. So you had to be bright enough. You had to have a GPA, SAT, ACT scores high enough to get into college, correct?
Right.
All right. And when you were in college, how did you do in college?
I was on Dean's list. I made
You made the Dean's
Mm-hmm.
list. All right. And you do realize most people don't make the Dean's list. Even if they do okay and graduate, All students aren't on the dean's list. So that's a real honor. Here's what I want you to do. Here's another homework assignment, and we're going to write all these down. And I'm scratching, making some notes now. But what I want you to do may sound a little silly, but I want you to go through this with me. I want you to make a list. We're going to review that list, but I want you to make a list here before the end of the session. Actually, when we finish here in a minute, I'm going to let you make that list out. We're going to agree with it together. But I want there to be some things on there about I had ACT scores and a GPA high enough to get myself into college. I went to college and graduated with a degree. That itself says you've got to be a relatively bright person, but you made the dean's list. So as silly as this may seem, this week, when those feelings come up, like, gee, I don't know if I'm smart enough, I don't know if I'm witty enough to be with this group, I want you, as many times as you can, to physically look at that list of accomplishments you've had. But when you do have that and you don't have the list with you, like maybe during the day at school, I want you to repeat as many of those things in your mind and then write down how you feel before, when you think I'm not smart enough, and then afterwards again. Does that sound like something you can do?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you have any comments that you want to make before we end today?
No, I don't think so. I think I know everything I'm supposed to do.
Okay, very good. I look forward to meeting back with you next week, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to check on the homework and see how things went, and I want you to feel good that we're really beginning a process here. Okay?
All right.
We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.